Hello YouTube, my name is Carl, and in this video I will be talking about the one piece of software that you need to have when you play on Pokerstars. And that piece of software is...
Son, I would tell you this much, son. I would never have put more 3,000 with 2 tens.
Oh, here we go.
That's why they sent me. I am an expert.
Starshelper. So I've had this since the end of 2014, and it's just a one-time purchase of 35 bucks now. Comes with a 30-day free trial. The value is just too insane. I finally have one of those fancy affiliate links for their affiliate program. So I figured I make a short tutorial video where I go over the settings I use to play on Pokerstars. When I got it, I mainly bought it because it allowed me to play in big blinds instead of the dollar amounts. But these days, Pokerstars seems to offer that as an in-game setting, well, at least on my client. So you don't really need Starshelper for that anymore, but it's just a really good help with some auto bet sizing options and the random number generator that I'm using. So those are the main features that I'm using it for right now. I'll just go over my settings since, well, when you're new to the piece of software, it's not always intuitive. So I'll show you what my settings are like, and you can tune them for your own personal use. So main, this is what it looks like. I'm not gonna go over these things, it's not that big a deal. But when you install the software and it's not working for you, you can have a look here at my settings. So this is how it works for me. Then auto bet sizing, this is the main one, the big one. So we see a couple of profiles. So I'll go over the other profiles afterwards. So we don't need them right now. So I just have my main bet sizing profile. So I'm cash game player, so this is all for 100 BB cash games. So here are some rules you can define when setting up your auto bet sizing system. So the thing you need to know is that these rules are read by Starshelper from top to bottom. And if a certain hand or a situation qualifies for a rule somewhere on top, it stops there. That's the rule that is applied. So let's say we have a situation and rule number 1 applies, and rule number 3 applies, and rule number 5 applies. No, Starshelper will see that rule number 1 applies and will use that bet size. So there's a couple of parameters you can toy around with to use your rule in a certain spot. So the big one here is that we use the size of the pot. And by adjusting the size of the pot, you can deduct whether it's a 4-bet pot or a 3-bet pot or a single raised pot. You can even adjust based on if it's a big open raise or a small open raise. So what I have here is custom setting, basically for everywhere except the button. And the pot is bigger than 8.5 big blinds. So this is going to be a 4-bet pot. Then my default sizing will be to go slightly less than pot. So this is 59% of pot. So you can click on the question mark and see which rules you can use. The main one I'm using is just C pot, which is what is known as pot. So if you want to make bets in function of pot, you use C pot. So first rule says that this is my standard 4-bet size. Now, Starshelper automatically inputs that in your Pokerstars bet box, but I can still scroll up and scroll down to slightly adjust the sizing. So this is what I'm using, but this doesn't mean I'm always using that bet size. I will very often slightly adjust based on the situation with a mouse scroll up or down to go big blinds up or down. So next up, we have the button. I'm 4-betting slightly smaller over there. Then let's see what's up here. So these are my 3-bet sizes from under the gun. We don't 3-bet from under the gun, but whatever, it's marked here. From middle position and cutoff basically. So open size is 3.85. I will 3-bet to this amount. On the button, I used to have a different 3-bet size, but now it's still the same. So these rules could be merged. But if I have them written like this, I can still adjust my button 3-bet size and make it different if I want to. Now, if there's an open raise, but it's like a really small one, I don't want to work with percentage of pot. I just go to the fixed amount of 7.11 big blinds. There's no really good reason for this. It's just what I do. So it all doesn't matter too much, like these exact numbers. You can copy them, but you can just change this structure and use it for your own game. So custom selection is just all 3-bets in position, basically. Then next up, we're going to look at 3-bets from the big blind. So I have a couple of settings here for the big blind. When the pot is 4.3, I automatically go to 12.13 big blinds. When the pot is 3.5, I go to 11.19 big blinds. This is to have 3-bet sizes that I defined versus certain opening sizes. You could make it easier and work with a percentage of pot there, but this is just what works for me. And like I said, I still often scroll up or down. I also have some preset bet sizing hotkeys, bet slider hotkeys in Pokerstars. So whichever settings I'm using in Starshelper, I make sure they don't really duplicate what I have going on in the Pokerstars client. I'll show you guys that afterwards. So I use Pokerstars Bet Slider hotkeys. I use hotkeys in Pokerstars, and then I use the auto bet sizing. So I try to make sure that I have some kind of default sizing in Starshelper, and then I have a certain set of hotkeys that are slightly different. And well, if I need a different sizing, I can use other hotkeys. So this is how I 3-bet from the big blind. What do we have here? 7.25 from the big blind. I had to think for a while what this exactly means. I think this line is when small blind min raises. This is my 3-bet size. I don't really think we need this rule. I'll just delete this one right now. See? So I'm very confident there. I hope I don't regret that decision. So I don't remember me ever using that one. And then we have my ISO raise size versus a small blind open limper. So it's the big blind, and the pot is 2 big blinds here. Then I will go to this size. Now there's a variety of strategies versus small blind open limp. I think some people go to 3 big blinds, some people go to 3.5, some to 4, whatever. I like to use the power of Starshelper and have a really random number like 3.87. Occasionally I'll mix it up and I'll adjust this number for no reason whatsoever except to throw people off. Then from the small blind, again, versus a bigger open, I go to 11.19 big blinds. Versus a smaller open, I 3-bet slightly smaller, and versus an even smaller open, I 3-bet slightly smaller again. Then we're in the small blind or the big blind, doesn't really matter, it's only for the small blind. This is just my opening size for the small blind. I go to 2.97. On the button, when the pot is 2.5, so this means there has been a limp. This is how we notice if there has been a limp or if it has been an open raise by the size that the pot is when the action is onto us. So on the button, when there has been a limp, I go to 2.91. On the button, when there has been no limp, it's followed to us, I go to 2.31. Then next up, again, a rule for limps, I go to 2.89 when there has been no limps. On the cutoff, I go to 2.23. And for the other positions, I go to 2.13. Lately, I just switched up my opening size from the various positions. It doesn't really matter too much. I don't want to go into it here. You can just use the same opening size for all these positions, or you can build custom rules per position as I have done here. So that's our pre-flop rules. Cost me some work to, well, make it work. So you can have a look here, and I hope with my explanation you can easily adjust it for your wishes. Then on the flop, again, I have standard c-bet size. Here, there's no way to input the stack. There's no way to input the pot size, so you can't really make a difference between a single raise pot or a 3-bet pot or something like that. But you can still alter the position here. So small blind position, I go to 0.34, and from every other position, I go to 0.33. It's like, doesn't matter that there's a 1% difference. On the turn, my standard barrel size is 2/3 pot, and on the river, I go to 75% pot. So yeah, this is it. So I hope that's clear. If you have any questions about it, about how to make it, please leave a comment. About the strategy of my sizes, like I said, it doesn't really matter that much. If I go slightly bigger from the big blind than you might think is good, well, I have my reasons to do this. When I'm using this as my default, it means that I think this is slightly better, or there's no noticeable EV difference between other options. Next up, table placing. So I have 2 monitors. I'm using Starshelper to place my tables. So I use this one, I put it at 6 tables, and then enable table placing is checked. So Starshelper will automatically put new tables in one of these slots, and you can just drag them to a different slot and it will automatically be fixed to this new slot. So very convenient. Then the HUD tab, you can use this for a lot of things. So it's called the HUD tab, but it's like there's so many things you can do with it. It's probably some unexplored territory for me, so I'm showing you the settings I'm using here, but I know this software is still capable of things that I'm not even aware of or that I'm not currently using. So the bet box is related to playing in big blinds. Before, Stars offered you the option of playing in big blinds. You needed to input your bets into a bet box that you create with Starshelper instead of the bet box that is created by Pokerstars. I'll show you guys what the bet box is later. Let's move on to the next one here. So formula is how you create a random number generator on every poker table. So formula, this is the formula to create a random number. These are my settings that I like. Auto update at the start of the hand, auto update after your move, and then you can change the appearance of the active and the inactive view of this random number generator. Then history is something I've been toying around with but end up not using. So you might have seen some streamers or coaching videos where the action that each player has taken is shown at the table. So this is with the history function of Starshelper. So yeah, I'm not using that. Some people, they work with pot odds or bluff odds, something that Starshelper will display at your table if you want to. So I'm not using that either. Buttons is a recent addition for me. I kind of like it. It's not optimized yet, but it creates a set of extra bet buttons. And maybe I'll show you the bet box, the random number generator, and these buttons right now. Okay, so I'll show you that right now. So I have a zoom table here, zoom 200, 500 is not running. So here you can see the buttons that I have created, and this is my random number generator. So the buttons are 22% pot, 58% pot, 75% pot, 130% pot, 180% pot, and 3 times pot. Now, I would like to display 130 here and 180 here, but I haven't really figured out the look of it. It's when I add a button, they get pushed closer together. So maybe it's by design that I'm not allowed to display 130 here or 180 here, but this is what's working for me now. So I'll play a hand here. So here are some stars settings that I have. So opening sizes, but you see that Starshelper automatically inputs my opening size here. So I'm gonna fold this one. And regarding the bet box, you will see that where I need to input my bet size, it's a bit more bold. So I'm gonna close Starshelper now, and now you see the difference. So this was the bet box that makes this bigger and more clear. So I'll play a couple more hands. Maybe we can see something interesting. Yeah. So that was Starshelper automatically moving my table to the right spot. So now my cutoff opening size, and you see when after I've taken my action, the random number generator will update. So I have a new number that I'm gonna be using for my next action. And now here automatically I'm at this 1/3. I can click this button to go to 22%, 58, 75, 1.3, 1.8, 3 times spot. You get the picture. I have some extra bet sizing settings that I'm using here in Stars. So yeah, I want to use some automatic sizings by Starshelper, then have some bet slider options here from Pokerstars. I have a couple of hotkeys on my keyboard and some extra buttons here. So try to think about how your game looks like and which extra sizings you would need. And yeah, this hand, I mean, we're screwed, right? Such a huge check raise. It's ridiculous. Well, now maybe we still beat something. I figured I'd call turn and fold a brick river. This is not a brick anymore. Yeah. Anyways, let's not comment too much on that play. It's a multi-way pot. I don't really know what I'm doing either. I should probably be checking a flop more often, but I just wanted to show you guys a hand here. And I've shown you a hand, and I've shown you what Starshelper looks like. So let's go back to some more of the settings. So yeah, we have the HUD with the buttons, and the buttons will take us back to different bet sizing profiles. So for every button you want to create, let's say the 22 button here, you need to link it here to a bet sizing profile. So this is linked to 22. And here I have created this profile, and it defines that this button is 22% pot on every street. Now my 75, for example, linked to 75, if we go to the bet sizing profile, we see that I also put 75% pre-flop. So if that's like a sizing I want to use for a 3-bet or a 4-bet, I can click on that 75% pot. So that's how we do that. So I'm kind of new to the whole button thing, but seems to be working fine. I don't have auto send checked, so when I click the button, it's put into the bet box of Pokerstars, but I still need to click enter to make the bet, so I don't accidentally make a huge bet or something like that. I can still see how much it is, and then I can still scroll up or down. Frames, I don't know if I'm using this, like, doesn't really matter, but you could create a border around certain tables. Haven't really looked into that. Auto profile, also not using it. Global HUD, I don't think I'm using this. Maybe I'm using the default settings or whatever. Hotkeys, I'm not using any of these anymore. I had some hotkeys in Starshelper, but I'm using the Pokerstars hotkeys. I am using increment by 1 small blind when it's linked to, no. I am using, however, increment by 1 small blind with the scroll of a mouse wheel. So you set that up like this and decrement bet also. So these are my settings there. Maybe there's some redundancy. Maybe Pokerstars does this by now too, but well, this is working for me now, so I'm not gonna screw over my settings and make it not work anymore. I'm not using this. I think when you use this, you can display the position each player has or something like that. Some people use it, but I don't care. Don't care about this and don't really care about this. Well, you guys can know that I really am. My name is Carl. So that's it for the Starshelper settings. So I hope that clarified some stuff. But I think, as I was already mentioning, it's most powerful when you think about Starshelper in relation to your other settings. So I'll show you guys my Pokerstars settings actually. So yes, it is really me. My name is Carl. So which settings do we have? So bet slider settings. I have this as preflop. So the 12.1 is a button I like to use when I'm 3-betting from the blinds, when my Starshelper maybe isn't doing what I want it to do. And postflop, I have these sizes. So notice that they are all slightly different than my automatic sizings. So sometimes I will change my automatic sizing a tiny bit and then maybe adjust my bet slider hotkey or whatever you call it, bet sizing button, bet slider button a bit. So I toy around with how they work together. So this is an important one. And then we have the hotkeys. So I am using, can I show it to you? Ugh, it's stuck. I am using a Razer Nostromo gamepad thingy. So I'm using my mouse on the right hand and then I have a gamepad on the left hand, and this gamepad is linked to some hotkeys. You can just use your keyboard, but well, a gamepad is, it's easier to use. So here you define your hotkeys. So I'm using this gamepad with one button automatically folds. So if I hover my mouse over a table, I click that hotkey and the hand is folded. This speeds up the process. It does lead to the occasional misclick, but I've been playing poker for so many years and I noticed that it's really important for me to spread out the number of clicks between my both hands. So when you're just using your right hand, you're like click, 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 click all the time. And really my fingers started to hurt after all these years of playing poker. So I think it's a very good thing to be able to spread out those bet sizes. So I have another button that is bet or raise. So this bet or raises the amount that is visible in your bet box. So that is the default amount that Starshelper puts in there, but you can also have an amount in there from one of your bet buttons, or if you scroll up or down. So first you set the bet size there and then you click the bet or raise. This one I'm actually not using, so I'm gonna remove this one to remove the clutter. And then I have a couple of hardcore betting options. So these, they don't just put it into the bet box, they immediately click enter. So when you click this button, it's happening. You immediately bet or raise by these amounts. So I have my smaller bet size. I actually want this to be bigger. I thought I put this bigger. So I wanted this to be bigger, so I'm just gonna change it like this. I thought it was set at 25 and occasionally it seemed a bit small. You know what? No, let's mess with their minds. 24.76, crazy. Then I have a button set at 1/3, then half pot and a bit bigger. So these would be 4 buttons for me on my left hand that are in a row. So I have those buttons in one row, so I can remember that they go from small to bigger. And then the row below that, I have a button that is about pot bets, about 1.5, about 2 times, and about 3 times pot. So those are the hotkeys I'm using. That combined with the bet slider options and with Starshelper will make your life way easier. So I can't imagine anyone playing on PokerStars without Starshelper, basically. So that's it for this video. And if you guys are interested in the software, I'm having an affiliate link down below. So it would be nice of you, if you like this video and this information was helpful, that if you would want to buy the software or check out the software because it has a 30-day free trial, please use my affiliate link. Also hit like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And yeah, I'm only making this tutorial video right now because I do have the affiliate link, but I have been a very pleased user of Starshelper since the end of 2014. So I didn't get anything from them. It's just a good piece of software that I bought out of my own free will. And now that I do have the affiliate link, well, I decided to spread the love. It's not really in my best interest to help my opponents, to make the life of my opponents easier. But when I get an affiliate cut for it, why the hell not? Anyways, that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys back in the next one.